Every year in the US, nearly 4% of adults admit they suffer from coulrophobia, the irrational fear of clowns. But what happens when the fear isn't irrational and the clown is real? Tonight, we're diving into a chilling clown encounter you won't find in cheap horror flicks. A true story of laughter that twisted into terror, ending with a revelation no one expected. Quick challenge for you. Would you survive being alone in a parking lot at midnight if a clown slowly started walking toward you? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. It started in the fall of 2016, during the infamous clown sighting craze that swept across the US. And UK news outlets showed grainy footage of clowns lurking by roadsides, peering from trees, or wandering empty streets at night. Most people laughed it off, dismissed it as bored teenagers in Halloween costumes. But for one young woman working the late shift in a quiet suburban town, it became all too real. She thought the clown hysteria was just viral nonsense, until one night she stepped out of her store and realized she wasn't alone. Legends spread fast, but fear spreads faster. She spotted him by the edge of the parking lot. At first glance, just another Halloween prankster, bright red wig, painted white face, baggy suit. But here's the thing. It wasn't Halloween, and she knew every face in that small town, except this one. He wasn't standing near the lights either. He lingered in the shadows, barely moving, just watching. Her stomach dropped as instinct screamed something wasn't right. She fumbled for her keys, trying to look calm, but her pulse was already sprinting. A stranger in a mask isn't entertainment. It's camouflage. Here's the strange part. Clowns were originally meant to make us laugh, not scream. But psychologists call it the uncanny valley effect. When something looks almost human but not quite right, our brains panic. A clown's frozen smile hides emotions we instinctively search for, leaving us unsettled. That's why even without a knife or threat, a silent clown feels like danger waiting to unfold. In her case, the painted grin wasn't comedy. It was camouflage for intent. When you can't read a face, you fear the mask. Takeaway? Trust the chill in your gut. It's your brain detecting danger before logic does. She tried to laugh it off, muttering nice prank under her breath, but her hands shook as she unlocked her car. The clown didn't chase, didn't shout. He just started walking. Slow, steady, measured steps. Every time she looked back, he was closer. Silence made it worse. Predators don't always roar before they strike. By the time she got into her car, her fight or flight instincts were on fire. She locked the doors, hit the ignition, and sped off, her headlights catching a final glimpse of him. Still smiling. Silence is sometimes the loudest threat. Takeaway: never ignore behavior that feels deliberately predatory. Here's a wild contradiction. Clowns are built to make us laugh, but the very exaggeration of their features is what fuels our fear. Bright red mouths, they mimic blood. Oversized shoes, they distort the human form. Dual fact: the same costume that entertains at a birthday party terrifies when seen at midnight in a parking lot. Psychologists say this clash of emotions, laughter colliding with unease, creates maximum discomfort. That's why horror films love to twist clowns into predators. Comedy and terror wear the same mask. Takeaway? Context matters. Anything meant to amuse can terrify when placed in the wrong setting. Her fear wasn't happening in a vacuum. Across the country, clown sightings dominated the news cycle. Reports of clowns lurking near schools, chasing kids into woods, even standing outside people's homes at night. Police chalked most up to hoaxes, but the hysteria was real. She remembered scrolling through Facebook that same week, seeing videos of clowns carrying baseball bats in neighborhoods not far from her own. So when she saw that figure watching her, it wasn't just one creep. It was a living reminder of a nationwide panic. Fear multiplies when headlines confirm your nightmare. Takeaway? The stories we consume can intensify our reactions in real life. For a while, she thought it was over. She pulled into her driveway, parked, and sat in the dark car until her pulse slowed down. The clown hadn't followed, at least not that she could see. A shaky laugh escaped, the kind you give when convincing yourself you're fine. But safety is fragile. A week later, Leaving her shift again, she spotted the same clown. Different location, same red wig, same painted grin. He wasn't random. He was waiting. Relief is the cruelest setup for fear. Takeaway. Don't mistake distance for safety. Patterns often reveal themselves over time. What started as a prank quickly crossed into harassment. Experts warn that repeated stalking, even without violence, can cause trauma equal to physical assault. Victims often report hypervigilance, nightmares, and panic attacks. She began altering her schedule, asking coworkers to walk her out, scanning shadows before unlocking her car. It wasn't all in her head. The threat was rewiring her daily life. This is why so-called harmless scares aren't harmless at all. Fear leaves bruises you can't see. When she finally reported the clown to local police, the reaction was frustratingly predictable. They shrugged it off as hysteria, part of the viral clown craze sweeping the country. No threats, no assault, so in their eyes, no crime. Probably just a kid messing around, they said. But here's the truth. Stalking doesn't need violence to be dangerous. Every ignored warning is fuel for escalation. She walked out of that station with less comfort than she had going in. Dismissal doesn't erase danger. It multiplies it. Takeaway. If authority doesn't take you seriously, trust your instincts and increase your precautions anyway. If this story has you hooked so far, hit that like button. It tells me you want more true horror deep dives, and it helps us reach people who love this kind of chilling storytelling. And if you've ever had your own creepy encounter, drop it in the comments. I might feature it in a future video. One night, she came home to find something new. Spray painted across the side of her garage door was a crude clown face, big red grin, black hollow eyes. It wasn't just a random act of vandalism, it was a signature. The message was crystal clear. I know where you live. That night she didn't sleep. She didn't. She moved a dresser against the door, jumped at every creak, every shadow. Harassment had turned into invasion. The line between joke and threat was gone. Experts explain why stalking terrifies more than a single violent act. Violence ends in impact. Stalking drags on, rewiring your brain day after day. It's the uncertainty that gnaws, never knowing when or if the stalker will act. Victims describe it as dying by 1,000 cuts. For her, every night became a roulette spin. Would he be outside? Would he follow her? Or would he finally strike? This is why police dismissals cut so deep. They invalidate real trauma. Stalking is violence stretched thin. Takeaway. Document every incident and create a safety plan because consistency means escalation is coming. A psychologist who studied the 2016 clown hysteria explained it bluntly. Clowns work because they exploit unpredictability. You never know if the smile means joy or menace. That unpredictability paralyzes us. We crave certainty, and a mask denies it. In her case, the clown's silent pursuit wasn't random. It was psychological warfare, forcing her to live in a loop of dread. And here's the cruelest part. The stalker doesn't need to touch you to own your nights. Uncertainty is a weapon sharper than steel. Takeaway. If someone thrives on your uncertainty, break the loop, shine light on their behavior. By late 2016, clown sightings began fading from headlines. Police cracked down, schools issued warnings, and the public grew numb to the hysteria. But while the world moved on, her fear didn't fade. It escalated. For everyone else, the clown craze was a passing internet fad. For her, it was nightly reality, lurking at the edges of her routine. That's the hidden danger of mass scares. They end for the crowd, but sometimes they spark something in one disturbed individual. Trends disappear, but trauma lingers. Takeaway? Never assume the end of a news cycle means the end of the threat. It all came to a head one rainy night after her late shift. The parking lot was nearly empty, lights flickering against wet asphalt. She felt that prickle, instinct whispering he's here. And then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw him. Same wig, same face. But this time, closer than ever. He didn't lurk at the edges. He walked directly toward her, slow and deliberate, closing the distance with every step. The sound of her own heartbeat drowned everything else. She ran for her car, but before she could slam the door, he lunged. The mask finally moved. Take away? Never wait for confirmation of danger. Act the moment instinct screams. Her scream echoed across the lot, and this time someone heard. Security cameras caught the scene, and within minutes, police arrived. The clown didn't resist. He stood frozen as officers tore off the mask. The reveal shocked her more than the chase. This wasn't a stranger. It was a man she vaguely recognized, someone who had been lingering around the store pretending to shop. He wasn't a prankster chasing laughs. He was fixated on her. Monsters don't always hide in the dark. They shop in daylight too. Takeaway? Be alert to recurring faces in your daily orbit. They're often the ones who matter most. Here's the twist that hit hardest. He wasn't some random drifter or masked prankster. He was someone she knew by sight. A customer who had lingered in her store, always a little too curious, always asking when she worked. Dual fact. The scariest monsters aren't faceless strangers. They're the familiar ones hiding obsession behind routine smiles. For weeks, he'd built his performance, stalking her with grease paint instead of honesty. Evil doesn't always come from strangers. Takeaway? Pay attention to subtle patterns in people around you. The overlooked ones often reveal intent. Her ordeal wasn't just about a clown. It was about obsession dressed in distraction. Too often, society tells victims they're overreacting, but vigilance is survival. What looks harmless to outsiders, a prank, a joke, a costume, can feel like terror when you're the target. This is the lesson. Fear is rarely random. It's usually a signal pointing at a deeper issue. Your instincts are messengers, not mistakes. Takeaway? When something feels wrong, don't minimize it. Document it, speak up, and act early. In the end, she never looked at clowns or customers the same way again. The laughter, the grease paint, the exaggerated smiles, they weren't innocent anymore. They were reminders that evil often hides behind the ordinary, waiting for a stage. And while the world laughs at clown hysteria, she carries the truth. Sometimes the nightmare doesn't end with the trend. The scariest mask is the one someone chooses to wear. Takeaway? Never dismiss what unsettles you. Fear isn't weakness. It's early detection. This wasn't just a creepy prank gone too far. It was a mask for obsession. And it proves a chilling reality. Sometimes the monsters we fear aren't in haunted houses or dark forests. They're in plain sight, waiting, watching, blending into our lives until they strike. If this story rattled you, the next one will make you rethink who's standing behind you in line at the grocery store.